Hi, good evening, and welcome to Read with Chide, day 80. We've gone all the way to day 80. Yeah, really interesting that we've come this far. As you join, please feel free to share this link with friends and loved ones so that they can join us as we read the Bible together. Also, please feel free to drop thoughts and comments as we read together. Um, yeah. Hi, good evening. Welcome to Read with Chide, day 80. I will get right into it. Today we're reading Joshua 8, 9, and 10. And I'm going to go right into it to start on chapter 8. And the Lord said unto Joshua, Fear not, neither be thou dismayed. Take all the people of war with thee, and arise and go up to Ai. See, I have given into thy hand the king of Ai, and his people, and his city, and his land. Remember the previous chapter, they had gone to fight the people of Ai, but they didn't all go. They sent only 3,000 men because, we are Israel now, plus those guys are not even many. But because they had someone who had committed an offense among them, somebody who had transgressed the commandment of God to them, the people of Ai were able to defeat them and they ran before their enemies. But now they've dealt with that issue, and God is saying, Go back there. I have given the king, the people, the city, the land into your hands. Verse 2, And thou shalt do to Ai and her king as thou did unto Jericho and her king. Only the spoil thereof and the cattle thereof shall ye take for a prey unto yourselves. Lay thee an ambush for the city behind it. So Joshua arose, and all the people of war, to go up against Ai. And Joshua chose out 30,000 mighty men of valor, and sent them away by night. And he commanded them, saying, Behold, ye shall lie in wait against the city, even behind the city. Go not very far from the city, but be ye all ready. And I and all the people that are with me will approach unto the city, and it shall come to pass when they come out against us, as at the first, that we will flee before them. For they will come out after us till we have drawn them from the city. For they will say, They flee before us, as at the first. Therefore we will flee before them. Then ye shall rise up from the ambush and seize upon the city, for the Lord your God will deliver it into your hand. And it shall be, when ye have taken the city, that ye shall set the city on fire, according to the commandment of the Lord shall ye do. See, I have commanded you. Joshua therefore sent them forth, and they went to lie in ambush and abode between Bethel and Ai, on the west side of Ai. But Joshua lodged that night among the people. And Joshua rose up early in the morning and numbered the people, and went up, he and the elders of Israel, before the people to Ai. And all the people, even the people of war that were with him, went up and drew nigh, and came before the city, and pitched on the north side of Ai. Now there was a valley between them and Ai. And he took about 5,000 men, and set them to lie in ambush between Bethel and Ai, on the west side of the city. And when they had set the people, even all the host that was on the north of the city, and their liers in wait on the west of the city, Joshua went that night into the midst of the valley. And it came to pass, when the king of Ai saw it, that they hasted and rose up early, and the men of the city went out against Israel to battle, he and all his people, there at a time appointed before the plain. But he wist not that there were liers in wait in ambush against him behind the city. And Joshua and all Israel made as if they were beaten before them, and fled by the way to the wilderness. And all the people that were in Ai were called together to pursue after them. And they pursued after Joshua, and were drawn away from the city. And there was not a man left in Ai or Bethel, and that went not out after Israel. And they left the city open, and pursued after Israel. And the Lord said unto Joshua, Stretch out the spear that is in thy hand toward Ai, for I will give it into thine hand. And Joshua stretched out the spear that he had in his hand toward the city, and the ambush arose quickly out of their place, and they ran as soon as he had stretched out his hand, and they entered into the city and took it, and hasted and set the city on fire. And when the men of Ai looked behind them, they saw, and behold, the smoke of the city ascended up to heaven, and they had no power to flee this way or that way. And the people that fled to the wilderness turned back upon the pursuers, and Joshua and all Israel saw that the ambush had taken the city, and that the smoke of the city ascended. Then they turned again and slew the men of Ai. And the other issued out of the city against them, so they were in the midst of Israel, so some on this side, some on that side, and they smote them, so that they let none of them remain or escape. And the king of Ai they took alive and brought him to Joshua. And it came to pass, when Israel had made an end of slaying all the inhabitants of Ai in the field, in the wilderness wherein they chased them, and when they were fallen on the edge of the sword, until they were consumed, that all the Israelites returned to Ai and smote it to the edge of the sword. And so it was, that all that fell that day, both of men and women, were 12,000, even all the men of Ai. For Joshua drew not his hand back, wherewith he stretched out the spear, until he had utterly destroyed all the inhabitants of Ai. Only the cattle and the spoil of that city took for Israel took for a prey unto themselves, according unto the word of the Lord which he commanded Joshua. And Joshua burnt Ai, and made it an heap forever, even a desolation unto this day. And the king of Ai he hanged on a tree until eventide. And as soon as the sun was down, Joshua commanded that they should take his carcass down from the tree, and cast it at the entering of the gates of the city, and raise there on a great heap of stones that remaineth unto this day. Now, one thing in this, story we just read that struck me is how that, remember the first time they went, they had said, "Oh, it's us now," and these people of Ai, they're not plenty like that. Let just 3,000 men go. And what happened. They fled before them. And then they realized, oh, it's because there was someone among us that had sinned. Now they had dealt with that guy, right? They had dealt with him as God instructed, and now they knew that, okay, we are back on God's side, right? And they did not say, oh, because God has clearly spoken that He's with us, and that we will take Ai and we will, destroy her king and whatnot and whatnot. Let's just, in fact, this time, let only 2,000 people go, or let half the number go, let 15 people go, so that we take them, because now we have God on our side. No. Neither did they say, oh, let's just go to war. No. There was strategy. God had told them He was with them, yet they planned as if they were just going to fight on their own accord. They planned the whole strategy of how to lure the people out, destroy the city, then have them in their middle. They planned the whole thing out. And they didn't just go 3,000 like the first time. The people that were with Joshua alone were 5,000, aside the people who laid in wait and went in to destroy the city. So that's instructive for me, that even when God has said, I will do this thing, it doesn't mean you should sit and lay back and expect it to happen to you because God has said it will happen. God said it, I believe it, that settles it. Yeah, that settles it. Show that you believe it. Let your actions show that you believe it. Go out and do what you need to do in order to see that thing. Verse 30. Then Joshua built an altar unto the Lord God of Israel in Mount Ebal, as Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded the children of Israel, as it is written in the book of the law of Moses, an altar of whole stones, over which no man hath lifted up any iron. And they offered thereon burnt offerings unto the Lord, and sacrificed peace offerings. And he wrote there upon the stones a copy of the law of Moses, which he wrote in the presence of the children of Israel. And all Israel and their elders and officers and their judges stood on this side of the ark, and on that side before the priests and the Levites, which bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord, as well the stranger as he that was born among them, half of them over against Mount Gerizim, and half of them over against Mount Ebal, as Moses the servant of the Lord had commanded before, that they should bless the people of Israel. And afterward he read all the words of the law, the blessings and the cursings, According to all that was written in the book of the law, there was not a word of all that Moses commanded which Joshua read not before all the congregation of Israel, with the women and the little ones and the strangers that were conversant among them. Chapter 9. And it came to pass when all the kings that were on this side Jordan, in the hills and in the valleys and in all the coasts of the great sea, over against Lebanon, the Hittites and the Amorites, the Canaanites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites heard thereof, that they gathered themselves together and to fight with Joshua and with Israel with one accord. Now see, all these people gathered to fight against Joshua and Israel. Verse 3. And when the inhabitants of Gibeon heard that Joshua had done unto Jericho and to Ai, they did work willily. What a word. Willy, willily. They did work willily and went and made as if they had been ambassadors. I'm guessing willily means cunningly. I'll check. As if they had been ambassadors, and took old sacks upon their asses, and wine bottles, old and rent and bound up, and old shoes, and clouted upon their feet, and old garments upon them, and all the bread of their provision was dry and moldy. And they went to Joshua unto the camp of Gilgal, and said unto him, unto the camp at Gilgal, and said unto him and to the men of Israel, we be come from a far country. Now therefore make ye a league with us. And the men of Israel said unto the Hivites, peradventure ye dwell among us, and how shall we make a league with you? And they said unto Joshua, we are thy servants. And Joshua said unto them, who are ye, and from whence come ye? And they said unto him, from a very far country. Thy servants are come because of the name of the Lord thy God, for we have heard the fame of him, and all that he did in Egypt, and all that he did with the two kings of the Amorites who were beyond Jordan, to Sihon the king of Heshbon, and to Og king of Bashan that was at Ashtaroth. Wherefore our elders and all the inhabitants of our country spake to us, saying, take victuals with you for the journey, and go to meet them, and say unto them, we are your servants. Therefore now make you a league with us. This our bread we took for our provision, we took hot for our provision out of our houses on the day we came forth unto you, to go unto you. But now, behold, it is dry and it is moldy. And these bottles of wine which we filled were new, and behold, they be rent. And these our garments and our shoes have become old by reason of the very long journey. And the men took of their victuals, and asked not counsel at the mouth of the Lord. And Joshua made peace with them, and made a league with them to let them leave. And the princes of the congregation swear unto them. Now, before I continue, I want to say two things here. It's either a lesson, that Joshua, as anointed as he was, Joshua, as powerful as the things God did through him were, he made mistakes too. He did not consult with God before agreeing and entering into a league with these guys. He just took their word for it and went ahead. Either that is truly the full story, or God actually just did not want these people to be destroyed, right? And he led them to do that as the way for that not to happen. But then, if that was the case, God would just simply tell Joshua not to go there to fight them, because for all the cities that the Israelites destroyed, it was either God telling them directly, go there, destroy that city, they're horrible people, or Israel is trying to pass through and they refuse. Instead, they try to fight Israel, then Israel will fight them back. So I'm leaning more towards the possibility that it was just an honest mistake on Joshua's part, and that for me is very instructive, right? That even as great as Joshua was, as anointed as he was, as many things as he got right, he made one at this mistake that we know of. Verse 16, and it came to pass at the end of 3 days after they had made a league with them, that they heard that they were their neighbors and that they dwelt among them. And the children of Israel journeyed and came unto their cities on the third day. Now their cities were Gibeon, Chephirah, and Beeroth, and Kirjath Jearim. And the children of Israel smote them not, because the princes of the congregation had sworn unto them by the Lord God of Israel, and all the congregation murmured against the princes. But all the princes said unto all the congregation, We have sworn unto them by the Lord God of Israel. Now therefore we may not touch them. This is what we will do to them. We will even let them leave, lest wrath be upon us, because of the oath which we swear unto them. And the princes said unto them, Let them live, but let them be the hewers of wood and drawers of water unto all the congregation, as the princes had promised them. And Joshua called for them, and he spake unto them, saying, Wherefore have ye beguiled us, saying, we are very far from you, when ye dwell among us? Now therefore ye are cursed, and there shall none of you be free from being bondmen, and the hewers of wood and drawers of water for the house of my God. And they answered Joshua and said, Because it was certainly told thy servants how that the Lord had commanded his servant Moses to give you all the land and to destroy all the inhabitants of the land from before you. Therefore we were so afraid for our lives because of you, and we and have done this thing. And now behold, we are in thine hand, as it seemeth good and right unto thee to want to us. And so did he unto them, and delivered them out of the hand of the children of Israel, and they slew them not. And Joshua made them that day hewers of wood and drawers of water for the congregation and for the altar of the Lord, even unto this day, in the place which he should choose. Um, I- they were literally like, see, as long as we are alive, as long as people did not kill us, we are fine. Let's be servants. Let's be hewers of wood, drawers of water. Yes, we agree. But Shah, don't kill us. Chapter 10, verse 1. Now it came to pass when Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, had heard how Joshua took Ai and utterly destroyed it, as he had done to Jericho and her king, so he had done to Ai and her king, and how the inhabitants of Gibeon had made peace with Israel and were among them, that they feared greatly, because Gibeon was a great city, as one of the royal cities, and because it was greater than Ai, and all the men thereof were mighty. Now this is another very interesting part, because see the description that the king of Jerusalem is giving of these guys. They were a mighty city. They had great men of war. It was a city, a royal city, a city greater than I, which the Israelites had defeated. And they talked about it and said, the God of these Israelites is not by numbers, though. It's not because we are great we will think we can withstand them. Let us go. It's their God that is fighting for them. Let's go now and make a league with them. That is instructive. Verse 3. Wherefore Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, sent unto Hoham, king of Hebron, and unto Piram, king of Jarmuth, and unto Japhia, king of Lachish, and unto Debir, king of Eglon, saying, Come up unto me and help me, that we may smite Gibeon, for it hath made peace with Joshua and with the children of Israel. Therefore the 5 kings of the Amorites, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, the king of Eglon, gathered themselves together and went up, they and all their hosts, and encamped before Gibeon and made war against it. And the men of Gibeon sent unto Joshua to the camp of Gilgal, saying, Slack not thy hand from thy servants, come up to us quickly, and save us and help us, for all the kings of the Amorites and that dwell in the mountains are gathered together against us. So Joshua ascended from Gilgal, and all the people of war with him, and all the mighty men of valor. And the Lord said unto Joshua, Fear them not, for I have delivered them into thine hand. There shall not a man of them stand before thee. Joshua therefore came unto them suddenly and went from Gilgal all night. And the Lord discomfited them before Israel and slew them with a great slaughter at Gibeon, and chased them along the way that goeth up to Beth Horon, and smote them to Azkah and unto Makkedah. And it came to pass, as they fled from before Israel and were in the going down to Beth Horon, that the Lord cast down great stones from heaven upon them unto Azkah, and they died, and they were more which died with hailstones than they which the children of Israel slew with the sword. So this is what Gibeon had seen, that these guys, it's not about their number, their God is fighting for them. So no anybody is, no matter how great you think you are, if their God says they should go against you, forget it. Verse 12. Then spake Joshua to the Lord in the day when the Lord delivered up the Amorites before the children of Israel. And he said in the sight of Israel, Sun, stand thou still upon Gibeon, and thou moon in the valley of Ajalon. And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Is not this written in the book of Jasher? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven, and hasted not to go down about a whole day. And there was no day like that before it or after it, that the Lord hearkened unto the voice of a man, for the Lord fought for Israel. And Joshua returned, and all Israel with him, into the camp of Gilgal. But these 5 kings fled and hid themselves in a cave at Makkedah. And it was told Joshua, saying, The 5 kings that are found hid in a cave at Makkedah. And Joshua said, Roll great stones upon the mouth of the cave, and set men by it to keep them, and stay ye not, but pursue after your enemies, and smite the hindmost of them. Suffer them not to enter into their cities, for the Lord your God hath delivered them into your hand. And it came to pass, when Joshua and the children of Israel had made an end of slaying them with a very great slaughter, till they were consumed, that the rest which remained of them entered into fenced cities, and all the people returned. Then said Joshua, Open the mouth of this cave, and bring out those 5 kings unto me out of the cave. And they did so, and brought forth those 5 kings unto him out of the cave: the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon. And it came to pass that when they brought out those kings unto Joshua, that Joshua called for all the men of Israel, and said unto the captains of the men of war which went with him, Come near, put your feet upon the necks of these kings. And they came near and put their feet on the necks of them. Nor be dismayed, be strong and of good courage, for thus said the Lord to do to all your enemies against whom ye fight. And afterward Joshua smote them and slew them, and hanged them on 5 trees. And they were hanging upon the trees until the evening. And it came to pass at the time of the going down of the sun, that Joshua commanded, and they took them down from the trees, and cast them into the cave wherein they had been hid, and laid great stones in the mouth of the cave, which remain until this very day. And that day Joshua took Makkedah, and smote it with the edge of the sword, and the king thereof he utterly destroyed, them and all the souls that were therein. He let none to remain, and he did to the king of Makkedah as he had done unto the king of Jericho. Then Joshua passed from Makkedah, and all Israel with him, unto Libnah, and fought against Libnah. And the Lord delivered it also, and the king thereof, into the hand of Israel, and he smote it with the edge of the sword, and all the souls that were therein. He let none remain in it, but did unto the king thereof as he did unto the king of Jericho. And Joshua passed from Libnah, and all Israel with him, unto Lachish, and encamped against it, and fought against it. And the Lord delivered Lachish into the hand of Israel, which took it on the second day, and smote it with the edge of the sword, and all the souls that were therein, according to all that he had done to Libnah. Then Horam king of Giza came up to help Lachish, and Joshua smote him and his people until he had left him none remaining. And from Lachish Joshua passed unto Eglon, and all Israel with him, and they encamped against it, and fought against it. And they took it on that day, and smote it with the edge of the sword, and all the souls that were therein he utterly destroyed that day, according to all that he had done to Lachish. And Joshua went up from Eglon, and all Israel with him, and Hebron, and they fought against it, and they took it and smote it with the edge of the sword. And the king thereof, and all the cities thereof, and all the souls that were therein, he left none remaining. According to all that he had done to Eglon, he destroyed it utterly, and all the souls that were therein. And Joshua returned, and all Israel with him to Debir, and found and fought against it, and he took it, and the king thereof, and all the cities thereof, and they smote them with the edge of the sword, and utterly destroyed all the souls that were therein, and he left none remaining. He had, as he had done to Hebron, so he did to Debir, and to the king thereof, and he, as he had done also to Libnah and to her king. So Joshua smote all the country of the hills and of the south, and of the vale and of the springs, and all their kings. He left none remaining, but utterly destroyed all that breathed, as the Lord had commanded Israel to do. And Joshua smote them from Kadesh Barnea on even unto Gaza, and all the country of Goshen, even unto Gibeon. And all these kings and their land did Joshua take at one time, because the Lord God of Israel fought for Israel. And Joshua returned, and all Israel with him, unto the camp of Gilgal. May God bless the reading of his word. And that brings us to the end of day 80. Tomorrow morning, we'll be reading again day 81, and in the evening, day 82, as we try to catch up with the days we have missed. Thank you for joining me this evening. If you're not already subscribed, why? Please click the subscribe button and also click the bell icon so that you'll be notified every single time that we are live. Yeah, do have a lovely night rest. See you tomorrow morning.